One of the things we're often wanting to do is create custom plugins associated with our own environment. For this exercise, we're going to be logged in as a user that has the Copilot owner role. We're going to work in Copilot for security by accessing a GitHub repository to download a manifest file for the plugin. So in GitHub, we have this YAML file. This YAML file represents a plugin that we're going to use as a KQL plugin for Defender. What we want to do is we want to take this and we want to create a sample file or a sample plugin from this. So we're going to download this file to our local environment. Now, because we could create any kind of file. We could use this for any kind of document. We're going to use a YAML file because then that allows us to create this as a plugin for Copilot for security. But there are also other file types that are supported here. The system capabilities and prompt responses, however, are based on kind of what this file is. This is a real file that we're using. So we're giving the capacity in Copilot to be able to create our own custom plugin sources. So the first thing we need to do is make sure that we have the ability to create custom plugins. So the first task is configure Copilot so that owners and contributors can add and manage their own custom plugins for everyone in the organization. So we'll go over here and we'll open up Copilot for security. On the home page, we'll go into Owner Settings. And in Owner Settings, under Plugins for Copilot Security, right, what we will do is change this from owners to owners and contributors, so everyone can evaluate that. Once we have that, our next section is that who can add and manage custom plugins for everyone in the organization. We're going to change that also to owners and contributors. Okay. Now, once we do that, we'll go back to the main Copilot page. All right. And then what we want is we want to go ahead and upload the file. Now remember, the file we had is that Defender, KQL Defender page. So we're going to go down here to the prompt bar. So down in the prompt bar, I'm going to go to sources. That's the sort of the squares icon. So from the prompt bar, I'll click on sources. Okay. And from here, what we want to do is we want to add a plugin. So, all right, so down here at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Add Plugin. I want to make sure that the setting definition here is just me. So this is who can use this plugin, is just me. I'm then going to select a Copilot for security plugin. Now, remember, if we were using, say, for example, a JSON file, we could use an OpenAI plugin and we could use those as well. We're using a YAML file for this as a Microsoft security plugin. You could use that with JSON as well. So I'll click on that. And then what I want to do is I want to be able to upload this file. So I click on that, and you can see here's that YAML file that I referenced earlier. I select the YAML file, click Open here, and then Add. What that'll do is that'll create then that custom plugin for me. Now you'll notice down here, there's the plugin. It says My Sample Defender KQL plugin. Note that it has a private tag. That private tag is, remember I said that the person who could use this plugin is just me. It's not a public object. This object is just for me. I can choose then the settings icon, which is a little gear. Okay. It'll show you the basic information about the plugin. Note the name, the brief description. This is a sample, so there's not a lot of configuration parameters. If there were things like API keys or sign-in credentials required for the plugin, this is where it'll be configured. Like when we configured like other plugins, you can delete the plugin here. So I'm going to cancel this to get out, and then I'm going to close up this page. So let's test this out. We want to verify the capability of this enabled plugin. So from my plugin, I'm going to go and use the prompts icon. Okay. From here, under system capabilities, you'll see there's a little link that says See All System Capabilities. So when I click that, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. It's easy to go from the bottom up. Okay. And then you can see there's my plugin, my Defender KQL plugin listed from that. Okay. So you'll see what it does is it gets the latest emails by recipient. So I click on that, okay, and it's asking me now for required information. In this case, it wants an email address. So let's type one in. NOSV32 at woodgrove.ms. Okay. And I can run that prompt. And then just like we ran other prompt books, you'll see what it'll do is it'll get the emails or get that information based on what that prompt ran. In this case, what it did is it completed the plugin access. It then processed the request and then prepared and generated the response for that. And as just like before, I can grab that information, save it to a pinboard, and then any of the data that I want, I can share that information out with folks. There's my summary. It'll show me any notes. In this case, it broke it down by email senders, email subjects, and any additional notes that I have. All this based on the plugin that I architected for that. So in this exercise, we saw how you could enable a custom plugin by uploading a YAML file for the plugin, and then tested that the plugin works by running a prompt using the required values for that plugin.